Pain, Stain, Scar, Meruem, Satsuki. 5 names, 5 different worlds. What connects them isn't their violence. It's how close they were to never committing it. The distance between a hero and a villain is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Sometimes it's a single death, a single betrayal, a single choice made in the wrong moment with the wrong weight pressing down. These aren't stories about evil. They're about what happens when the right person breaks in the wrong direction. There's a specific psychological condition that has no clean name. Call it the near-miss villain. Not a redeemed character. Not someone who switched sides because they were defeated. Something more precise. A person who possessed a genuinely moral framework, who had the capacity for heroism, and then didn't use it. 3 things marked them. First, a coherent ethical system before the fall. Not madness, a philosophy they could argue and win. Second, a pivot point. One wound, one choice, one circumstance that could have gone differently. Third, residual humanity. Something that never fully converted. Even at their worst, the thing that almost made them choose differently never completely died. These 5 had all 3. 5 case studies, 5 different psychological mechanisms, and one answer to the question, were they ever truly villains or just heroes who chose wrong? Nagato was trained by Jiraiya. That isn't incidental. That's the architecture of the tragedy. The man who became the god of pain was built, brick by brick, to be a hero. He understood suffering with a precision that most heroes never develop. He watched his parents die to a war he didn't start. He watched his best friend die for an ideal that couldn't save him. His framework wasn't broken. The cycle of hatred is real. That's not madness. That's a correct diagnosis. What broke wasn't his logic. What broke was his scale. When no one listened to the philosopher, he decided to become the lesson instead. The pivot, Yahiko's death. The one person who held Nagato's vision and his gentleness in the same hand. When Yahiko died, the gentleness went with him. Pain wasn't born. He was what was left. Stain loved heroism. That is the only honest way to read him. He didn't want to destroy hero society. He wanted to save it from commercialization, from hollow performance, from the machinery of fame that had replaced genuine sacrifice. His diagnosis was correct. Hero agencies operate like corporations, popularity rankings, brand deals, sidekicks as labor. The system Stain identified is the system the audience can see for themselves. His method was murder. But here's what the narrative doesn't want you to sit with. The heroes he spared because he recognized something real in them. The pivot. Somewhere between the correct diagnosis and the killing conviction, his love for an ideal became the ideal's executioner. He became the very thing he was trying to burn out of heroism. A man who believed so completely in his own righteousness that consequence ceased to register. Scar had a name once. The series never gives it back to him. That's not an oversight. His entire identity, his mission, his logic, his reason to breathe was built on a single act he did not choose and could not survive intact: genocide. The Ishvalan massacre wasn't a war crime in the shadows. It was state-sanctioned extermination. And Scar walked out of it with his brother's arm, and no other architecture left for his grief to live inside. His violence was the wound talking. The pivot isn't a single moment here. It's a sustained condition. The absence of anyone willing to hear the wound. What separates Scar from the others is that he completes the arc. Not because someone defeated him, because someone finally listened past the violence. The near-miss villain who didn't miss. Meruem was born knowing what he was, not because he was told, because everything around him confirmed it. Apex predator, born ruler, a species designed to surpass humanity and replace it. He didn't question this. He didn't need to. Then he played a board game with a blind girl who kept winning. Komugi wasn't a plot device. She was a variable that no one, not his creators, not his instincts, not his biology, had accounted for. In every game, she was his equal. In every quiet moment, she was more. The pivot, the realization that the most fully human thing he had ever experienced was something his own design said should have been beneath him. His final request was to die beside her, not in battle, not in defiance, in stillness, holding the hand of the one person who made him want to stay. Satsuki Kiryan was the most feared student council president in anime history. She was also never a villain. That's the architecture of her entire arc, and the reason she belongs in this list rather than a redemption list. Every act of tyranny, every cruelty, every iron-fisted display of dominance, all of it was a long con. Her target was Ragyo, her own mother, a woman who treated human life as raw material. Satsuki couldn't defeat her through open defiance, so she became something Ragyo would trust, a tyrant. The psychological cost of that performance isn't shown in explosions. It's in the way she never let herself be seen, for years, without flinching. There was no corruption event in Satsuki's history. She was always fighting for the right thing. She just couldn't afford to look like it. 5 villains, 5 mechanisms, 1 pattern. The line between monster and martyr isn't drawn by action. It's drawn by the story we tell ourselves about why we acted at all. And sometimes the only difference between a hero and a villain is which side of the wound you're standing on when the choice comes. Pain. Next Monday. Subscribe. We go deeper here. Every time.